Well, hello, everyone. If anyone carried over from last session, you already know me, but my name is Jenna Reedy. I'm the Communications Manager with Faunalytics, and I am welcoming you to this panel on companion animal food, issues in companion animal food. So we are joined by two talented speakers, and they will each present a 15-minute talk for us. We will open up for questions submitted via the Whova app at the end of their sessions, but please feel free to submit those questions right away as you think of them. And then if you see a question that you love and you really want to make sure it's answered, use that thumbs up button to upvote it all the way to the top, because I have it in order of upvotes. So the ones that get the most votes are the first questions asked. So submit your questions throughout the entire presentation. We will get to the Q&A at the end. And that is everything on my side. So without further ado, we'll get started with our first speaker. Hetal Sheth is next and will bust myths on dog and cat nutrition, including asking the big question, are they carnivores or omnivores? All right, take it away. Do you want this one or that one? Perfect.
Good evening, everyone. So before we dive into the presentation, let me ask you this. How many of you have a dog or a cat? Quite a few of you. So basically, this is Curry and Brownie, my rescues that I had adopted. And they are the ones who led me on this journey of plant-based nutrition for dogs and cats. So I'm really grateful to them. Is there one thing that you really are grateful to about, or a lesson that your pets has taught you? Yeah, just raise your hand, and maybe if you can have a mic, you can just share. Yeah. So is there anything that you are grateful to about to your pets that they've taught you in life, like, or like you feel that it would have been different if they were not there? Yeah. We all love our companion animals so much that we do the best that we can, right? So one of the ways we show our love to them is by feeding them, right? Like we want the best food for them. We do all that we can to keep them healthy and happy. But do we ever stop back and think what that bowl of food can do to your animal, or what it takes to kind of, keep them healthy? So that's what we're going to discuss today, some of the issues that our current pet food trends are facing. So there are a lot of different options today in the market to feed your pets. If we have busy lifestyles, we just do the dry food, the kibble, or we do the canned food. And if we have more time and resources, then there's raw food. But the question is, are all these foods great for your companion animal? So like most of you might know that the dry food and the wet food, which is commercial, highly processed food, is not really ideal for your companion animals because they kind of increase inflammation in the body. So the next best option is to be able to feed them raw. But is raw the answer? Because raw food comes with challenges too, right? Like not all dogs or cats are able to digest raw food because they don't have that kind of a strong gut these days. They're no longer wolves. They've evolved from being wolves. Actually, there was a really nice video that was published by Voyagers where they've been tracking wolves in the US, and they saw that the wolves were foraging blueberries. So and they were happily eating it, so your dog is no longer a wolf. He's not going to go hunting every day to catch a prey and eat it. Even the wolves, for that matter, they don't get prey every day. They go for months without getting a kill, and during those times they actually eat fruits. So about 80% of the time they eat fruits, and it's only 20% of the time that they're going in for a meat-based meal. So with raw food, there is another challenge too. There are pathogens, right, like bacteria that can kind of cause, again, inflammation and other issues with the gut. So there was a study that was done recently by Professor Andrew Knight in the UK. And what they found out, they did a comparison between the commercial food, meat-based, raw food, and vegan food. And what the study revealed was that the vegan food was the healthiest option because it had the dogs who were consuming vegan food had the less health impact. The health disorders were the lowest for them. And the next was the raw one, and then the last one was the processed food. So the other thing is, I don't know how many of you have dogs with allergies. Can you just raise your hand? Yeah. So my journey started with my dogs, both of them who had allergies. One of them had gut allergies, and she also had a heart condition, that's curry, and that's how the name curry and pepper comes. The other one, Brownie, had severe skin allergies, always itching. I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, and it's so frustrating when you see that and you can't do anything about it, right? So there's been a lot of studies that have been done around this portion, like about dogs and cats having allergies. So when both of my dogs were struggling with allergies, like we tried so many different things and nothing worked. And finally, when I switched them to a plant-based diet, within 2 months, things resolved. And my vet was like, just do what you're doing, you know, that seems to be working, because we tried meds, we tried Apoquel injections, a lot of things. So what the studies now reveal is food allergies are common. The most common food allergens are meat and dairy. So you may have noticed that your vet, when you go to your vet with your dog having allergies, they'll say 3 months feed chicken, 3 months feed beef, 3 months another meat. And after 3 months, they seem to develop allergies to each of those meats. And then what do? You run out of choices for meat. And then you move into novel proteins. But then you have to start, people now are now farming these animals for pet food. So then you go in for like emu, kangaroo, duck and whatnot, right? Like, and is that even natural? Like a wolf that is living in US, is it going to get kangaroos for meat? No, right? So how far close to the real food is this? So, and even for cats, you know, I know some of you here have cats. Like cats don't go in the river fishing. Fishes are not even their natural food. But most of the cat food contains fish. So besides, that was just more from the health perspective, you know, like the other part of feeding plant-based diets and meat-based diet is the meat-based diet lacks a lot of fiber, and it also lacks other good qualities that come with plant-based diets, like anthocyanins, flavonoids, which are all very helpful for your gut health and overall well-being, phytonutrients for the animals. Whereas if you're just feeding raw meat, where are they going to get those nutrients from, right? And that's the reason why you see so many dogs with diabetes, cancer, and things like that that are cropping up these days. So the other impact is, have you ever wondered, like when you're preparing, what do you feed your dogs? Do you feed meat or do you feed something else, like a plant-based diet? Meat, yeah. Okay, plant-based, that's awesome. So have you ever wondered, like, what does it take to make one meat-based meal for your dog? Like if you're looking at a mid-sized dog, we're just going to take a look at that. So this is something really to think about, you know. So it takes, for one meal, for one mid-sized dog, it takes about 45 pounds of feed. So whatever animal that is going to be slaughtered for your that's going to go into your dog's bowl, it takes about 45 pounds of feed or to feed that particular animal. It takes 30 square feet of forest that is converted into a farming area for the animal that is going to be into the bowl. 4,000 plus liters of water, and 20 pounds of carbon emission. So this is one bowl, one day. So we feed twice. If you multiply that with 365, just think for one dog what the impact is. And there are 471 million pet dogs. I'm not even counting the strays, so you can just imagine the impact. There was a recent study that was done where they actually found that the Amazon forest is being deforested about the size of UK every year, just for pet food. And about 30% of the human meat that is prepared actually goes into pet food. So pet food actually is now becoming a bigger concern with the PFI because of the impact that it is leaving behind. So people are now looking for alternatives. So the question is, given that we know that there are health impacts with the pet food as well as environmental impacts, what do we do? What are the choices that we have? How can we prevent this or, you know, make a change? So the environmental impact is definitely, we will be discussing this a little bit more. The choices that you feed, like if you're consciously feeding the right kind of food, and you can still provide health, and sourcing it from the right sources is also equally important. So the right sources of food that are prepared keeping the environment in mind. And of course, if you have the food, the nutritional impact has to be there. It has to be healthy for your animal. Otherwise, there's no point in feeding whatever you're feeding, right? So that is also something that we need to consider. And then finally, animal welfare. So again, this was something that was published 2 years ago by PFI, which is Pet Food Industry organization. So they basically did an assessment of the different kinds of proteins that can go, because protein is the most essential element in a dog or cat food, right? So they analyzed 100 grams of protein and the carbon emission that is emanated from that. So the animal protein, as you can see, is the highest at 35 kg carbon dioxide equivalent. Then, so now we're running out of animals that we can feed because of allergies and things like that. So the new trend is feeding insect protein. There are pet foods that are being made out of crickets and other insects. So, but even that has a significant impact on the carbon emission because the insects now need to be farmed. So we are now affecting the soil biodiversity. Then next comes, okay, so what? Let's do lab-grown meats, right? That sounds like a solution, but have you considered the amount of resources that it would require to prepare those labs and actually create those cultures for lab-grown meat? It takes a lot of resources to be able to do that. And if you look at plants, they're like really minuscule amount of carbon emission, because plant-based foods need to be supplemented for the dog food or cat food to be complete, nutritionally balanced. You need to add vitamins and minerals. Even if you add that, it is still the lowest amount of emission that we have. So it's still another option. And so naturally the option is to consider plant-based food. So the question now is, will that be healthy for my dog? Because dogs need a lot of protein. Yes, plant-based foods are absolutely very healthy. Like I mentioned earlier, they contain a lot of phytonutrients, antioxidants, flavonoids, isoflavonoids. So all of these things actually help your animal stay healthy. So given the key thing here to remember is your dog or cat needs nutrients, not necessarily meat. So as long as your dog or cat is getting the 37 to 41 nutrients, depending on whether it's a dog or a cat, they will have nutritionally complete food and they will be healthy. So the key, and the right amount of calories, of course. So the key essential parts here are like getting all the macronutrients, which are your proteins, carbs, and fats, and the water, mineral, and vitamins. So it is also, research also shows that minerals and vitamins are better absorbed from plant-based ingredients than meat-based ingredients. And meat-based ingredients are also, like these days, causing a lot of cancer just because of the heme protein, heme iron that is present in beef, for example. So it kind of leads to cancer, it leads to other metabolic disorders as well. So as long as you remember, if you're feeding a plant-based diet, as long as it's nutritionally complete, your dog or cat will thrive. And what's even more fantastic is there was a recent study that was done that says that dogs and even cats that are on a plant-based diet, they live actually 1.8 years longer than a dog or a cat on a meat-based diet. So we all want our companion animals to live longer. So yeah, that's what I was just mentioning, that they live longer on a plant-based diet. They have better gut health because you have the right fiber, the food for the prebiotics that go in for your the food as for your gut microbiome. So they are a lot more healthier because they have a better gut health, because 80% of your immunity and health lies in the gut. And then plant-based proteins are just as bioavailable. They're about 80 to 85% bioavailable in cats and dogs compared to meat-based protein. So there isn't significant difference in terms of bioavailability. So that's again, and vitamins and minerals are better absorbed through plant-based proteins, like I mentioned. So this was a study that was done. And some of these resources will be shared if you're interested in reading further. So there was another one recent study that happened, just like I think that was published just last month, where they had actually analyzed 2,500 dogs, a comparison between raw diets, meat-based diets, and plant-based diets. And clearly plant-based diets was the winner because those dogs were the most healthiest. They had fewer vet visits, so you're saving on your veterinary bills as well. And they were a lot more healthier. So at Curry and Pepper, we focus on helping people transition over from a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet. And we do this through a very special protocol using food sensory protocol, where we help your companion animal connect with the food in using their senses and kind of transition over. So this was Ruby. She was an indie that was abandoned, and she was almost on the verge of dying, where the vets had recommended euthanasia. And you can see how she was. And then 2 months, we put her on a plant-based diet. She actually recovered. She even had a broken leg, where she didn't need a fracture. She's from euthanasia to still living. She's still thriving, and she's completely on a plant-based diet. And this has been now 2 years ago. So plant-based diets, if they're formulated correctly, can do wonders. So this is just a recap of some of the benefits that we just discussed. Basically, the fewer vet bills, longer life, relief from allergy. I think that's the biggest thing, because I know a lot of us struggle with that. It's been my personal journey with both my dogs, where I struggled a lot with their allergies. And the moment we made the shift, everything changed. So how do we make the shift, right? So the beauty about plant-based ingredients is there's so many different ingredients. Even if you have like so many different protein sources through beans and legumes and lentils, that you can kind of feed a variety of food. You're not stuck with feeding one particular type of meat. You can provide a variety of feed, and you can provide seasonally appropriate diets to them. So that way they're a lot more healthier through the seasons as well. And when you supplement them properly, this is just an example of the ingredients that you can use to actually prepare a balanced meal for your dog. It's essential, like I mentioned, plant-based meals need to be supplemented. So it's essential that you supplement. And that's what we do at Curry and Pepper, is we provide the supplements that you can actually use for home cooking and transition your dog to a plant-based diet. So some of these resources are shared here, and I think I've shared it on VOA as well. So post this if you're interested in reading any of these researches, you'll have access to it. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That is fascinating that they found footage of wolves eating blueberries. I like to imagine how they do that. Are they just devouring those bushes, or are they slowly picking a berry off at a time? Are they just picking the berries off gently? Okay, we're going to all click that YouTube video later. All right, so I believe our next presenter did make it. I think I saw, maybe? Yeah? Yeah, awesome. All right, so our next presenter did make it in, which is wonderful. Dom Pham will be speaking on embracing the vegan lifestyle in pet care, opportunities and prospects in Vietnam. And are you here? There you are. Come on. Would you like this one or this one? It's right here.
It's going to take another 2 minutes for the slide to load.
Okay.
Okay. You want to go into Q&A?
Ooh, we're still loading slides. No worries, no worries. Well, if we can quick do a Q&A moment. If you want to come up just for one question. Dom, do you want to come up we can just do one question while that's loading, if you want to. Sure. Ooh, I like this question. This might be more for you. Is plant-based suitable for cats?
Yes, plant-based diets are suitable for cats as well. Again, like here, it's the nutrients that they need and not necessarily meat. And what's even more amazing is plant protein is even more digestible in cats than dogs. It's like 97% digestible. So as long as it's formulated correctly, it can certainly work with cats as well.
Awesome. All right, so let's see what our next question is. Here we go. I've often heard people claim that dogs are strictly carnivores and that feeding them a plant-based diet deprives them of their natural rights. How would you respond to this?
So there was a study that was done in the University of Barcelona, and that study studied the skeletons of Bronze Age dogs. So that's a long time ago. They analyzed the skeletons, and what they found was like about 70% of those dogs only ate plants. So evolution has changed. They have evolved from being a wolf. If you look at a wolf, they have like bigger jaws, stronger jaws. But if your modern dog has a shorter jaw, they're being fed twice every day. They've also kind of their gut microbiome, like the chimpanzee, has changed. Chimpanzee is a carnivore, but it eats mainly plants because the gut microbiome is completely different. So the same thing has happened with dogs. The gut microbiome has changed to evolve processing of plant-based ingredients. They've also gone through genetic changes to be able to support plant-based diets. So it's basically they're omnivores, not necessarily carnivores. So they were classified as carnivores at one point, but now they're being accepted as omnivores. And if you transition them right, they actually love their plant-based foods because the palatability is as good as their meat-based diets as well. So they will actually, once they learn, they will actually see the difference and they will actually opt for it as well. So ethically, if you're wondering, like if morally, if it's the right thing to do, you have to try it to be able to experience it and see it.
Awesome. Thanks for coming up and being put on the spot like that to answer some questions. That was wonderful. All right. So, Dampham, if you're ready, are you ready? Did your little introduction? And you want to use that one? Okay. Perfection. You want this one? There you go. Good luck.
Hello. I'm very sorry for the delay in my presentation. So I'm very happy for having you here. It really makes me surprised because maybe it is my first time for having a speech at a vegan conference. So let's take a look. I am a veteran. I had just come back from Japan after 5 years in my PhD, but my research in Japan and the 5 years in Vietnam, I focused on the livestock. So when I read, okay, I have to come back to Vietnam and I should find the other way because for the livestock in Vietnam, it may be difficult if I want to make something big, especially if I want to do the business. So that's why when I come back to Vietnam, I start my startup businesses and I want to focus on the companion animals. So the question, what is the differences between the companion animals in Vietnam and in Japan? So you can easily to find information about the pet population, I mean the dog and cat population in Japan. Every time, every day when I went out and I go to the park for running, I met some elderly people with a stroller. Firstly, I still think maybe the grandson are staying inside the stroller, but only dog and cat. Every day, and sometimes if the dog gets very cute, I still think they are talking about their grandson, but no, about their pets. And now in Japan, nearly 20 million of dogs and cats. The population of dogs and cats may be larger than the population of young people less than 15 years old in Japan. So every day, even I study on the dairy cattle, but every day I went to school, I went out, I see a lot of dogs and cats. So I think maybe in the next 10 to 5 years, Vietnam will follow the development of Japan, especially on companion animals. So that one reason I digging on the research. How about the pet market in the global scale and in Vietnam scale? And let's take a look. So you can see the global pet market is very, very big. It's out of my understanding. So for the first time I see, especially as you can see here, this is ASEAN Pacific, including Vietnam. It has a very high growth rate. So I think it may be a good opportunity if we can start a business on companion animals in Vietnam, especially with the collaboration with Japanese people, Japanese professors. So I want to bring something new to Vietnam to improve the quality of pet care in Vietnam. So now let's take a look in Vietnam. So in Japan, they have around 20 million of dogs and cats, but in Vietnam, we have around 11 million. So this is the data from 2021. But I think now with the number maybe higher. But one problem with the number, because in Vietnam, you cannot distinguish between the dog and cat in your home or the dog and cat you for meat. It's the truth, in Vietnam, you still can find a lot of dog and cat imported from other countries to Vietnam for meat. So that the number about the dog and cat population in Vietnam, we can use for estimate the large of the market. But it may be very difficult if we cannot distinguish who are best who are only dog and cat for meat. So I'm very happy for having me here because as a veteran, as a people want to bring the high quality pet care, I believe that I and my company cannot do anything by ourselves. We really need the voice to have an overview here. So as you can see, for the pet market, the pet care, including the veterinary medicine, only around 40%, but total food is half of the market. So now it's the situation now in Vietnam. So I think besides the pet care, I want to focus on the pet food. But one problem, when I work with the livestock animal, most of people say, okay, if you have a lot of dairy cattle, a lot of big cattle, it has the impact on the environment, it has the ethical consideration, but how about the pet food? Because a lot, as all of you know, dog and cat have to eat meat. So how about the food for dog and cat? Can it have impacts on the environment? So that's my question, because I don't want to focus on the pet food. So as you can see here, this is the global pet market, but I focus on the pet food. This is the livestock, poultry-based sheep, goats. So it is data from the US because we do not have the same data in Vietnam or other countries. So I take the data from the US. So this is the total livestock meat used for human, and this used for dog and cat. It means that around 20% of meats and products from meat used for dog and cat food. And this is the list. You can see for the first one is the meat and bone meal chicken byproduct. So this is the list of meat-based product used for pet food. So in Vietnam, when I come back to Vietnam, I'm really surprised because in Vietnam, the vegan movement is significantly rising. So in Japan, it's very difficult to find a vegan restaurant in my city. But when I come back to return to Hanoi, I can find everywhere. So I've searched for data. So the growth rate of the vegan movement in Vietnam is really impressive, around 600%. So one of my friends sitting over there, she is a veteran, but she also is a vegan. And she also working with me at the companion animal clinics. So sometimes she invited me to the vegan restaurant. So the food's very delicious. So she said because she now working and collaborating with the people in the same vegan community in Vietnam. So she suggests maybe if the people can use the vegan food, how about the dog and cat? Just a question. So I think it's maybe a very good question because now in Vietnam, we can easily find the common food for dog and cat. But the plant-based food for dog and cat is very difficult. Only few plants from other countries. So I think it may be a good opportunity for us if we can cooperate together and working together to generate and manufacture the plant-based product for dog and cat. So that's why we have the two companies. So this is the MOJITECH. This is the company, the Vietnamese company. We want to do the research and we want to make the vegan food for dog and cat. So it not only, I think it's very easy to explain the reason why we want to do the vegan food for dog and cat from the aspect of ethical, from the aspect of environment. But how about the health concerns of the dog and cat? Because you know dog and cat have to eat meat. And most people still think, okay, dog and cat have to eat meat. I think it's the same question for the previous speaker. So just take a look. Especially for the cat, it's obligate carnivorous. So mean need the essential amino acids, essential nutrients in the meat or the animal-based products. So for example, if the cat do not absorb enough the taurine is very important amino acid for the cat will be easier to get some diseases like the cardiac diseases. But this is only the theory. How about in the real situation? Just dig more deeper. I found the other cross-sectional research. What happened when the pet owners want their cat use the vegan food? So as you can see here, MB means the meat-based food. FPP means plant-based product. So in this research, the researchers make kind of control group with the dog and cats use the plant-based product, and the other group use the meat-based product. And they follow the animal for a long time, and what will happen, the diseases can occur in two groups of animals. So this is the results. You can see we have a different cardiac diseases, dental diseases, dermatopathy. So this is the total, and this is the differences between the dog, between the cat use the meat-based product and plant-based products. Basically, we cannot find the differences in the rate of disease incidence between the control and the experimental group. And as you can see, especially in some type of disease, for example, the dental diseases, the number of cats eating the animal-based product is higher than the animal eating plant-based product. So just an example, you can easily find the other research. They may show the same result for some kind of special disease. So it's maybe one of the questions we can use evidence we can use to explain maybe it can have the impact on the health of the dog and cat using the plant-based product. So this is the other one is very interesting. So this from the aspect of the owner, how can they feel about the health of the cat when they provide the cat with the meat-based product and plant-based product? So 100 is the highest ranking. So as you can see in the figure, the number of people, the proportion of the owners using the plant-based product is higher. They have the high certification with the health of the cat than the cat using the meat-based product. So it's also the same. How about the life? How long, how many years the cat using the meat-based product can live, and in comparison with the cat using the meat-based product. So the pink one here is the meat-based product, and the green one is plant-based product. So we cannot, sometimes we can see the cats using the plant-based product living longer than the cats using the meat-based product. Of course, these experiments still have some weakness, but if you still provide some evidence, because it may be very difficult for the researcher to exclude all the external factors impacting on the health and the life of the cat. But we can still use evidence. And in Vietnam, for our products, we are doing the same experiment, but with a smaller number of animals. So we hope maybe in the near future, we can introduce to you the vegan food from Vietnam for dog and cat. So this in the previous research on the cat. So how about for the dog? So this research for the more than 2.5 thousand of dogs in the UK. So they have three groups of dogs. The first one, the conventional meat. It means in the diet of the dog to use the conventional meat. The second one is the raw meat, and the last one is the vegan. So this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 more. It means the number of vet visits per year. This experiment will conduct for the whole year. So the research found what happened, how many times per year the dog using the different diet have to go. So as you can see, for 0, it means don't have to go to the clinic the whole year. And 1 time, 2 times, second time. So it did not show the differences between the dog using the plant-based and the meat-based product. Even in some group, of course, it did not show the significant, statistically significant differences, but it still showed the changes. And it may be, because when I become a vegetarian, when I introduce the vegan product to the pet owners, they have a lot of concerns. So do you want, we bring the cat and dog back to the clinic many times. But sometimes I show to the pet owner the result. Some of them understand, and after, for the, my friend at the clinic, so she also had dog and cat for maybe previous 5 to 5 years, still use the plant-based product. So in Hanoi, we have a animal clinic. When the dog and cat visit the clinic, they use the sample, everything at the clinic, plant-based products. So we want to step by step introduce the plant-based pet care option, just an alternative option for the people who think about the environment, who think about the ethic. So this is the same research still on the dog. So it's for the medication use in the group. And this still stem dog, but in this group, the researcher asked the owner what happens with the health of the dog. How about the diseases? Is it minor diseases or is it major diseases? And this is the response of the best owners to the research. So in Vietnam, I think it's maybe a lot of challenges, but just to read, I just list here 3 major challenges from the pet owners. When we introduce the vegan product to the pet owners, they always ask, how about the nutritional balance? Because for a very, very long time, in Vietnam, the dog and the cat eat what the owner eats. For example, when we have dinner, the dog around you just feed them some food from human. It's a problem. So when they have to pay more money for the common pet food, is okay. But they have to pay higher money for the vegan food products. So normally they deny. They don't want to pay more money. And they do not think it's good for the health of the animals. So I think the nutritional balance is very important, because in the human, we can use the supplement to protect ourselves. But for the dog, in Vietnam, we do not have that kind of products. So we have to import from the other country. And especially for the cat, it may be more difficult when we try to balance the nutrition in the vegan food, because the cat need more the essential amino acids from normally we found on the animal products. So it's one thing difficult. So we are very lucky, because in Vietnam, for a long time, most of students, most of researchers, we focus on the livestock. So when we have the idea we want to produce the vegan food, we cannot find any Vietnamese experts on the nutrition for the dog and cat. But I still think we are very lucky, because there only one person, he retired. He now nearly 80 years old. He retired. But when we introduced the idea to him and he agreed, maybe he can help us. So we are very happy for having him here, Professor Ching. He is the director of Vietnam National Animal Science Institute for a long time. So thank you so much, Professor Ching, for your support with us. And the second thing, I think the public perception, I think it's also the same for when my friend introduced the vegan to her family, her husband denied. He did not want to eat the vegan. So the wife eat first, then the husband and the children. So I think it's also difficult for the other people when we want to convince the people for using the vegan. But now I think she's success. Now the whole family using the vegan food. She's a very good person, and I think she may be some of the few veterans in Vietnam using the vegan diet. So for the last one is the education. I think it is the most important one, because it's not for the adult people. In Vietnamese, adult people is maybe more difficult, but how about for the children? Just let them know, teach them about the impact of the livestock, of the meat on the environment. How about from the ethical aspect? So we can focus on the children. So that one way now we are doing, every month we organize a workshop to introduce, to educate the children about how about we can take care of the dog and cat, how we can use the vegan change step by step on the diet for the dog and cat at their home. So that one way we want to do in Vietnam now, we are doing at our clinic. And just everything for my presentation, so thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, we'll take over the stage now. So let's each steal a chair. We have 5 minutes to do some Q&A. So I don't know if there were 2 extra mics that you can bring. You were so kind last time to supply that for us. All right, so wonderful presentations. I have a million questions myself, but I'm gonna stick with what people are asking first. So my first question for you, do dogs have the same issues like obesity, cancer, etc., and can plant-based diet help them with that?
Yeah, so dogs and cats too. There's a study that's been done that actually says that dogs and cats actually, or your companion animals, have the same diseases that the pet owner or the human person has. So they have all of these issues, and the plant-based diets certainly help, especially with obesity and diabetes. Plant-based diets work really well because they are higher in fiber content. So it naturally helps with the weight loss and a gradual weight loss. So that's where it's very beneficial.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very good question and very good answer. So I think I agree with you. It's the same diseases between the dog, cat, and the animal and the human. So for the plant-based product, I think it can help a lot, especially for the human. I think, as I mentioned in my presentation, it's very easy to find the supplement for the human. But I think for dog and cat in Vietnam, it's maybe more difficult. But in general, from the research here and from the research, the data from my research for the product, we can see the improvement in the dental health, for example. But for the cancer, it's maybe we need longer time to answer. But for the digestive problems, for the dental health, I think it's so the improvement when you plant-based products.
Yeah, awesome. And since we were talking about supplements a little bit, someone did ask, is it possible to formulate companion animal meals in such a way that they don't need supplements in addition to their meal? So they said they personally don't take supplements. I would love to talk to you about how you get away with that personally. But is there a way, do you think, in the future that we can create these meals for them that don't require additional supplements?
So it's a bit challenging because, like for example, in a slide that Dr. Phong explained, taurine and carnitine are essential amino acids that are required for dogs and cats to thrive, right? So that is something you're not going to get through a plant-based protein. However, taurine, you can create the building blocks by providing methionine and cysteine, which is available in a lot of plant-based foods. So as long as you're providing the building blocks, yes, but carnitine would have to be supplemented. Likewise for cats, arachidonic acid, which is not available in plant-based food, would have to be supplemented. So you would be risking your dog's or cat's health if you don't supplement it. There are things like spirulina and stuff that you can add, but the balance is the part which you would be very difficult to do it. So that's where the supplements actually help.
Awesome. Well, it looks like I have time for one more question here. So we'll go with one that I had myself. So let's say your cat or dog won't eat the plant-based food. Do you believe that lab-grown meat would be a suitable substitute?
It's a very nice question. So in Vietnam, one company from the other country, to introduce the alternative option, the food from the insect protein. But one problem with the insect protein, the dog and cat easy to get allergy because there are some protein in the insect, so make the allergy in the dog and cat. So for the lab meat, I think maybe in future we can use, but we just ask the question: is have the reasonable price enough for the dog and cat? Because to my understanding now, even in Vietnam or in other countries, it still have a very high price. So if the meat can provide enough the nutrition, amino acid for the dog and cat, we still consider it as an alternative option. But I hope maybe in 5-10 years, we can have some of the first product for the dog and cat with the lab-grown meat. But from my opinion, because in my university in Japan, that one professor, now he is doing the research on the lab-grown meat. But one thing I consider, he have to spend a lot of electricity and the chemical for grow very small amount of the meat. So just it is good enough if we consider about from the environment aspect or something. So in my opinion, I think we can, but it may take a long time.
I think we need to test it differently, you know, think outside the box. So if your dog is used to eating a certain kind of meat, like let's say chicken or like beef, for example, think about it in terms of flavor, like the taste, the smell, and the texture, because that's what your dog is going after, because your dogs eat with their noses rather than, you know, so much of the taste. So if you kind of mirror those with your plant-based foods by adding things like nutritional yeast, or like, you know, for the umami flavor, or certain herbs and spices, you can actually recreate those flavors, and you can help your dog transition over easily.
Awesome. Well, that is all the time we have. Thank you so much for coming, and join me in thanking our wonderful speakers for their amazing presentations. All right. Well, thank you all so much, and yeah, we'll see you around.